If you've begun to pick up on the fact that my mind tends to jump around quite a bit, then go to the head of the class. Earlier this week, I was thinking about Independence Day. Now I'm looking ahead to a trip to Israel scheduled for next March, and my mind is thinking about the geography of the place and what I've learned by laying my eyes on it and setting my feet on it. In the next few days, I want to share a few of the things that I've learned and observed simply by visiting there. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Wednesday, July 6th, 2022. Over the past couple of Sundays, we've read two accounts of the prophet Elisha. A couple of weeks ago, we read the account of his inheriting the mantle of his teacher, Elijah. This past Sunday, we read the story of his encounter with the Aramean general Naaman and how he healed Naaman of his leprosy. Both weeks I touched on the place where these stories took place. Now I want to fill out those brief sketches and give my thoughts on the place. It all happened around Jericho, a very ancient city, one of the oldest known settlements in the world. Some even claim that it is the oldest city in the world. But whether or not that's true is not as important as the fact that it is indeed quite ancient. Settlements there dating back at least 12,000 years. It is also the oldest walled city in the world. And as it sits close by the shores of the Dead Sea, it is also the lowest city in the world by elevation. This all fascinates me because the place it sits is pretty inhospitable. The immediate region is rocky and dusty and parched. It's a desert area at the foot of the hills that rise toward Jerusalem in the west, which is only about 16 miles away as the crow flies, but might as well be on a different planet. What makes Jericho itself habitable is that it was built on the site of an ancient oasis, a place where fresh water is available. It's also only about 4 or 5 miles away from the River Jordan, which provides a narrow strip of arable land. And it was here, on the banks of the Jordan River, that two critical events in the Bible took place. Placing these two events together enriches our understanding of both. The first event is the crossing of the Hebrew people into the Promised Land, just opposite, or again, about 4 or 5 miles from Jericho. The story is recorded in the book of Joshua, which says, "When the people set out from their tents to cross over the Jordan, the priests bearing the Ark of the Covenant were in front of the people. Now, the Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of harvest. So when those who bore the ark had come to the Jordan, and the feet of the priests bearing the ark were dipped in the edge of the waters flowing from above stood still, rising up in a single heap far off at Adam, the city that is beside Zarethan, while those flowing toward the Sea of Arabah, the Dead Sea, were wholly cut off. Then the people crossed over opposite Jericho. While all Israel were crossing over on dry ground, the priests who bore the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stood on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan until the entire nation finished crossing over the Jordan." The entry of the people into the Promised Land mirrors their escape from Egypt. In both cases, the waters, first of the Red Sea and now of the Jordan River, are parted, and the people cross over on dry land. And in both cases, this marks a change for the people. In the first place, they're no longer slaves, and now they are a people with a land. Now listen to the second story. In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in the Jordan. And just as he was coming up out of the water, he saw the heavens torn apart and the Spirit descending like a dove on him. And a voice came from heaven, "You are my Son, the beloved. With you I am well pleased." And the Spirit immediately drove him out into the wilderness. He was in the wilderness 40 days, tempted by Satan, and he was with the wild beasts, and the angels waited on him. Now, it's not exactly certain where either of these events happened, but the evidence from the texts themselves suggests they both happened at very nearly the same place. When I first saw the place with the city of Jericho in the distance across the desert and the country of Jordan just across the Jordan River, it struck me. Is there a meaningful connection between these events? Or is it just happenstance that they occurred at nearly the same place? To be clear, neither the gospel accounts nor Jesus himself nor Paul makes any such connection, but it still causes me to wonder. For in both cases, a new reality has come into being. The Hebrew people have entered into the land promised to their forebears long before, and now they become a people, a promise fulfilled. And in the baptism of Jesus, we are welcomed into the household of God and made new people, just as promised from the beginning. Again, promise fulfilled. And both happened in the wilderness at a muddy little river near Jericho. Promise fulfilled. Tomorrow, we head north to Galilee. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.